makes things very interesting to be here on a weekend. I had to explain to my kids this morning on why am I busy online on a weekend. So thank you so much. I know there's so much that you have in your life that you could be doing, that you are doing. So making the time is really appreciated. For us to be in a conversation, so please be busy in the chat. I will take pauses during our conversation as well, and we'll have question and answer session at the end as well so that we really engage. I am going to be sharing a lot in terms of what I do, how we do it, the kind of thinking that I bring on board. So thank you so much for being here so that we are in this together. And thank you so much. I saw JD, Simpiwe, Marita, all here, people I do know. So if I haven't seen your name that I do recognize, I'm so happy for you to have joined for us to start. So I'm going to start. Olawale has already introduced me, but this is me. And I did look after digital learning and experience design within Nedbank, which is in South Africa and across many other countries in our continent. We also have holdings that we have at an international level in the UK as well, Isle of Man. So it's a broad role that involves a lot of work, but exciting work, and I'm privileged to be able to do it. When I started in the role and they said it's going to be digital learning and experience design, I think my biggest question was, how do these two things fit together? But I've been so grateful for the opportunity to do both. So in terms of digital learning, in terms of where learning is housed, and then the experience design in terms of the learning that we actually design and where people get to experience it. So it's a wonderful combination to be able to create the space where people learn and also influence the kind of learning that they get to be involved in. I did go to school. I'm currently in school, currently doing my doctorate in technology and innovation as well. And it's going to be a long journey, so I don't always like to talk about it. But the current study that I'm doing is in terms of why people learn the way they do. So being in a space where I am looking after the spaces where people learn and how they learn, I was quite curious in terms of how do people make those decisions? So how do people decide that I want a bursary and I want to go do a qualification? What is driving them? Is it because the jobs that we advertise have qualification requirements and therefore people go and study? Is it a curiosity thing that people are after? Is it a skills base that people are seeking? Why do people choose to learn where they learn? And for example, if someone is struggling with Excel, do they go ask a person about how to do a VLOOKUP, or do they go onto LinkedIn Learning, for example, to do a quick course or watch a quick video? And so that's what I'm looking at and researching, because I think there is so much that we can gather from that that will then feed into our learning strategies to answer the call of why people learn where they learn, and also then couple that with what are we providing as organizations? Are we answering what people are asking for? Are we creating fears from a qualification requirements perspective that are leading people to invest 3 to 5 to 7 years of learning? And then that is not actually what they need to be doing on the job itself. So that's what I'm currently busy with. I am a wife, I am a mom, I am a sister, daughter, all of those things. And so when I am not learning myself or driving learning, I am playing golf with my son, doing dance with my daughter. My calves are evidence of that today, because yesterday was one of those dance days. And so I like to also share that I'm not just, one-sided. It's not just about career, but there are other aspects of me and things that I like to enjoy. So today we're going to talk about three things. And I know it seems like a lot of time to only talk about three things, but I think what is important is that we engage and we share and we have conversation. And so I will leave quite a bit of time for us to be able to engage in that Q&A session at the end. But also I believe that if we fill up our agendas with too many things, we get lost in what did we come here to really get. And so the first thing we're going to talk about is, what is this future-ready workforce everybody seems to be talking about? Are we that? So as an individual, if you think of yourself, are you future-ready? Are you a future-ready employee, business owner, L&D professional, whatever that you are doing, side hustler, are you future-ready? And related to that future readiness, from an L&D perspective, are we using technology to enable us to create learning experiences that and like get everyone empowered to be future ready? Are we looking at everything that we could be thinking of? Are we exploring technology? Are we learning more? And I'll be sharing also some of the things that I've been learning for the past 2 weeks that have led me down some rabbit holes, but interesting rabbit holes in terms of technology. And then the last thing that I'd like us to talk about is measurable business impact, because at the end of the day, while we have fun in terms of design and we have fun in terms of the digital learning space and playing around with technology, it is all for the success of the businesses that we work for, the organizations whose hands we hold in terms of capability building. And so for me, it is important for us to always put in the data lens to go, how can technology really enable us to get more data? And are we looking in the spaces that we actually already have in place? So those are the three things we're going to talk about today. And I think it's going to be a really worthwhile engagement on those three things. So we'll get going. So when we talk future-ready workforce, we are going to cover the who, what, and why. Because it's really important before we get to the flashy things to really critically understand, why are we doing this and why does it matter? Why should we be future-ready and what does that really mean? So in terms of this explanation of what are we talking about, what are future-ready individuals, and hopefully this name thing isn't blocking for you to see, but I will share the slides. I have shared them with Olawale as well. So the forum talks about future-ready workforce as one that's resilient, adapt in terms of technology. They are adaptable themselves to disruptions, and they are equipped with skills. So both cognitive, both personal, so those power and those future skills, technical skills as well, for them to navigate our global economy. And Adecco Group actually came up with an incredible stat. They do research across the globe in terms of skills, in terms of what is the future of work, what is the places of work as well. And they said future-ready employees only represent 11% of the current global workforce population, which is kind of scary if you think about it. Because let's count how many people on the call. Only 11% will then are in terms of future ready. So it's a scary stat, but I think that's what stats do. That's what numbers do. They give us a different perspective that can actually make us look at things differently. But they're also on the same idea that is, people are resilient, adaptable, and they're prepared to navigate those shifts in technology and market demands. And the market demands include customer changes in preference, in insight, in trends, in taste. But what I loved is their definition to say that future-ready employees are proactive in building new skills and are ready to seize opportunities. And this made me think about myself and reflect and go, am I being proactive in building new skills? Or am I thinking about it and going, I'm building the skills that everybody's saying I should be building? And so as we go along, we're going to go through what the World Economic Forum is saying as well. But it's been really interesting to think about it, to go, am I future ready? Am I proactively building skills? And am I ready to seize opportunity? If something happened now, am I going to be sideswiped by it, or am I ready to seize opportunities that are coming around me? And then the last one from MIT Sloan made me think a bit deeper, and they say that future-ready employees are data literate. So before the tech and being comfortable working with AI, machine learning, and robots, and it's the data component that am I ready? Am I skilled enough in terms of data, being able to analyze the data, being able to gather insights, visualize it as well. Am I doing the right things? What I liked that they added from an MIT, perspective is that they said future-ready employees are empowered. So empowered, they have a voice and they're ready to use it. So that being proactive, seizing those opportunities. And then the last one is commitment to make a mark in the world. So from being woke, from a social perspective, from what is happening from an environmental impact perspective, future-ready employees want to work for employers that are making a good impact in the world. And I guess that's also why I work where I work, because the purpose of the organization I work for is to make a positive impact using the expertise that we have to touch our communities. So for banks to not just want people to just bring their money, but how do we use it for good in the spaces that we operate for people to change their lives, to change their families' lives? And that's was really powerful for me to think about when we look at future readiness. So in terms of why does it matter? I looked at these stats from the World Economic Forum in terms of the trends that are driving these technologies that are around us, these emerging technologies that we said we're going to speak about today. So if we look at the world around us, and 86% of the people surveyed, the employees surveyed, said AI, VR, AR, so augmented reality, virtual reality, big data, they are a key driver for all of the change that we're seeing. And we all know this. This week, I think I was thinking to myself, what did I do before Copilot, Gemini, ChatGPT, DeepSeek? Because that is where I live now. And I was really thinking, was I really sitting there and thinking about the English I need to write for an invite, for an email response? Because now those are things that occupy my mind. Now it's about how do I build the experience? How do I make this even better? And so these are definitely things changing how we think about work. What are the things that are valued actually in work? And how do I do it faster? And what does productivity really mean? Because for me, productivity is the ability to do things that matter at work. It's not the kind regards that I'm writing, but it's really the things that matter, the things that are valuable, that shift the needle in terms of capability build. And so when I thought about these, future readiness then really matters, because if we have to be, as employees, thinking about AI is here, virtual reality, augmented reality, robots are here. Even from a simple perspective of a chatbot. So let's not, do the ones that walk around and do things. Those are fantastic. We've seen them at conferences, at events, robotic dogs, robots in itself that speak to you, but a simple chatbot and autonomous systems, those are growing and they have a big impact in terms of how things are done. Recently, I was building a co-pilot bot to help people navigate our successor development framework. And I really realized that this is important in terms of how people get to navigate this space. And there's many, many things that are happening that are in terms of the industry that you're in. So energy, new materials, semiconductors. I think before Trump's tariffs on the world, people didn't know, and the fact that is going on with China, they did not know how much semiconductors would be really impacting them. And I think that's why it said 20%, because before all of these tariffs, people are like, it's chips are really going to affect how we do things. But now it's such a big conversation in terms of business, if you are in the tech industry, and how you are leveraging computing technologies and where, importantly, you are getting them. And so there's so many different things that are going on around us. And so future readiness really becomes something that's really critical for us to start looking at. And obviously, we've all seen this slide that talks about the growing jobs, the declining jobs that are happening and growing. And I love the Future of Jobs report from the World Economic Forum. So if you haven't read it, please go and engage with it. But you start to see from the fastest growing jobs, you start to see all of those buzzwords that we keep hearing in our organizations in terms of data, fintech, AI, machine learning. So in terms of all of those trends, you start to see them in the jobs. And so it translates. And the future readiness then doesn't become something that we are talking about that is coming. It is, these are the things that are happening now and are going to continue to happen. Because when we look at jobs, I like to sit on LinkedIn and look at what are people actually advertising for? Is this a real thing that is happening? Is this a reality? Are we seeing less data entry clerk roles being advertised? The organization I work for has a game farm. So I always look at, are we actually reducing the number of people that are going to be working at the game farm because we have more technology? Am I seeing less people work in physical facilities and more from a digital space? And so it's always a curious thing for me to go, is this really happening? Or is it happening at a slower pace than we think it is actually happening? But the joy, I guess, of this not happening as quickly and as rapidly as we think it is that if your job is in the declining one, you have an opportunity to start thinking about what do I do differently? So I used to be an accountant. I used to be an auditor. I still do my parents' and family members' taxes. So tax season is a beautiful time for me because then I get casseroles and gifts as payment. But if I look at it then in the declining jobs, the number 7, accounting, bookkeeping, payroll, clerks, you start to see that there. And it's all about how do you shift it into the fastest growing roles and jobs that exist and go, maybe I can move into data. If I'm an accountant, maybe I can increase and upskill from a data lens because I'm already working with numbers. And so it becomes a really important thing when we look at this, look at the trends, that they actually all speak to each other, making the work of being an L&D really something that is significant. So then if we look at the skills, so firstly, we looked at the trends and we saw the AI, the data, and we started to see all of those emerging. Then we looked at the roles, and that is a continuing trend to go where people are hiring the most now is in line with those trends. So they're hiring more people who know how to work with data, more people comfortable with AI, and actually then the skills that are growing the most, where people's focus is from a learning perspective, where people's focus is from a reskilling, upskilling perspective is in these areas as well. But what I mostly love about these fastest growing skills is that there's an appreciation that the tech skills might be the top 3, but there's a lot more that is required from an individual's perspective when we think about the future and where it's going. So if we think about future ready workforce and us from an L&D perspective, building solutions, our solutions must talk to those other skills. So they must talk about critical thinking and creative thinking. How do we build that? How do we nourish that from a learning perspective? And how do we get our organizations from a business perspective to realize that it's not just about tech? It's not just about the buzz. The things that are going to keep companies working afloat is that people are resilient, they're flexible, they're agile, they can respond to change. That people are curious and they adapt through lifelong learning. And it also speaks to all of you being here on a Saturday, engaging in this conversation about technology and leveraging it for future-ready workforce solutions. So what is really amazing is that we start to see a shift to cognitive skills, some self-efficacy as well, and we start to blend those from a top 10 perspective to go, the future isn't just technology. The future is humans in a tech space and being able to navigate themselves so that they can leverage the technology. And that also speaks to the learning solutions that we're creating. That are we really considering? That it's not just about creating another learning pathway that speaks to AI. It's about opening up the minds of our employees, of the people that we touch to. Yes, AI is there. Yes, you should know and have fluency towards AI. But how are you thinking about using it? What are you doing it? Are you increasing your productivity? Are you creating new solutions? Are you coming up with innovations? And that's the thinking that we need. Lastly, I want to talk about in terms of why does this future readiness matter? 39% of workers' core skills will change by 2030, and that's also from the World Economic Forum research. And that means if you think about your skills and you think about them in your 10 fingers, 4 of them are going to have to change from a core skills perspective by 2030. And are we ready for that change? Do we know how we will handle that change? Are we already starting to build for that change? And while 2030 seems far, we're at the end of 2025, and these stats are increasing every year because skills expire so quickly. So in 3 years, the skills that you're gathering now will have expired. You need new ones. You need to augment the ones that you currently have into new spaces. So are we really thinking about how quickly are we building skills, being able to apply them to do things differently? And then from a business transformation perspective, 63% of the people and the businesses surveyed by the World Economic Forum say skills gap is the highest blocker in their business transformation. And I love the stat because it tells me I'm in the right space in the learning environment. From time to time, I question this because obviously, because I started my career in an accounting environment, and all my friends now are either directors and partners in big firms globally, I start to question, is HR really the space that I should be in? But these kind of stats really make me feel like this is the place to make the difference. Because if 63% of the businesses said that the skills that is the highest blocker in their business transformation, that means from an L&D perspective, I'm the highest enabler. And that gives me so much confidence in the work that I do. And then the last one is 14% of the work currently performed by humans today will either be taken away and be done by technology, or it will be done by humans in combination with technology. And that means from a personal perspective, do we know enough about the tech around us? Are we leveraging enough? Are we thinking about how do we make the things that we currently do even better with technology? I loved this quote that I found in terms of future readiness, that we aren't here to talk about flying cars or uploading our brains onto the cloud. That stuff, while it is amazing and in the movies that we watch, and that's what we think 2030 is going to be about, even though it's 5 years away, it's also not about having all the answers. It's about the ability at all levels, individual, team, organization, to transform quickly and thrive. So not just to transform, so not just to adapt, not just to be resilient and strong in all the restructures that we're going through, but it is how can we quickly adapt and then thrive? How can we anticipate the change that's coming down the road? And even if we don't, even if AI and the robots, they come quicker at us than we thought, how are we going to be able to adapt to that and not be blindsided by it? And that's why the work that we're doing and the conversation we're having today really matters, because the world is changing at such a quick pace, and all the research around us, whether it's World Economic Forum, the Adecco Group, all the consulting houses like the one I work for, Deloitte, it becomes about how do we respond, and that the role of skills building becomes even more critical. So if you thought you were a stepchild because you are in the learning and development environment, please think again. You are making a difference, and all organizations need you more today than they did before. And in terms of the last stats that I'm going to go through is, if we really think about it, I loved this and it brought such simplicity to the conversation in terms of if the global workforce were 100 people, then we start seeing that 41 would need to be upskilled. And then are we upskilling in our current role versus upskilling to move into a different role and pivot our careers? And then the rest unlikely to receive that and the necessary upskilling. And then we'll need to think about what is the next. I wouldn't want to be in a group of people that don't have the opportunity to receive the necessary upskilling. And that's why it's really important that we consider what it is that we do and why we do it. And then the future is L&D. Like I said, our roles are more important today than they've ever been, because 85% of the organizations that we surveyed, they said upskilling is their #1 workforce strategy to remain in business by 2030. Not to keep people, not to be doing all kinds of fancy things, not to be even leading in their businesses, to remain in business by 2030. And that gave me pause. So in terms of experiences, so now we've covered the what and the why in terms of future ready. I'd like us to spend the rest of this time to start looking at how can we leverage technology for learning experiences, because the way people learn cannot be the same as it's been in the past. It needs to really be different as well. So I'm going to stop sharing and reshare the screen, and then we will get into the strategic imperatives. So before I get into how do these learning experiences show up, what I like to focus on is the strategic imperative for what we do. So we don't create fun for the sake of fun. I always go back to the slide. It is a slide I speak to in the organization I work. To go from an employee experience perspective, my biggest goal is to give people autonomy. Autonomy to own their own growth and to make it happen. My biggest goal is to make sure that employees arrive at work and they're empowered to take control of their own careers, learn what they want to learn, develop in what they want to learn, with the clarity of what matters in the organization that we work at, what matters in the world. So from all of the research I just presented, but to ensure that they can get personal experiences, that there's flexibility for them, that they can get continuous feedback, even through AI, be able to reflect, get some coaching as well. So that employee experience is really critical for me, because technology is one thing, but without the people to utilize their technology, businesses will fail. And it's really important that we give people back the autonomy in their work, in their learning as well. I always go back to the personal story for me of I wouldn't be where I am if I didn't have autonomy in my career, and also people to enable me to activate that autonomy. So I spent 4 years in varsity learning accounting and auditing, spent 3 years at Deloitte working towards being an auditor. And then at the end of those 7 years, decided this is not what I want to do. This is not where I want to be. And someone came to me after having a conversation with me with what I wanted to do, and I wanted to go and help young underprivileged students get access to funding for their studies and get access to jobs as well. And they said to me, well, there's learning, and you could easily do that in learning, but obviously you need the skills. And for me to make that leap required, one, autonomy for me to be able to learn what I needed to learn, even while still continuing in an audit role. So I did stay in audit for 2 more years after those initial 7 years of study and initial work in my articles. Learning from an audit perspective, what is learning? How do you create guides? How do you facilitate training? How do you deliver training? How do you start to present? How do you co-facilitate? How do you program manage as well? And that really helped me in terms of then saying after those initial 2 years, this is where I want to stay and this is where I want to grow. And that then enabled me to go look at what is happening from a LinkedIn perspective. What can I learn? What is happening from a Get Smarter perspective, from an EDX perspective that I can leverage and add on to my learning experiences. And that is what I want to enable for other people, that autonomy to pivot careers, to follow purpose. Because at the end of the day, people work for themselves and for their families. And it's a big thing for me for people to not feel boxed and trapped within their careers, but to have the autonomy to make a difference and actually get opportunities that matter as well. From a manager experience perspective, my goal is to help managers unlock potential and drive high performance. As a manager, you want to look good. You want your people to look good. You want them to be able to perform, to deliver value. And that is my biggest focus on how do we do that. So let's create the games. Let's create exciting spaces for people to learn. Let's create immersive environments. But let's also remember why we are doing it. And then at an organization level, that we want to build that future workforce that we spoke about earlier. We want people to build those critical skills, and we want to build them ahead of demand. So we want to build them proactively as well. Because from an organization perspective, it makes sense that once you've attracted people, that you develop them, you make sure they're performing, and you keep them. And you, in keeping them, in retaining them, make sure they're able to get access to mobility opportunities across the organization. And that for me builds employer brand. And so I always remind myself that in learning and development and in looking after design, I'm not just making things fun. Yes, there is the fun element, and I love the fun element of what we do. And I'm going to share those things with you. But it's not just about that. It's about how do we remember the intent of what we are doing so that people don't go, hey, I did that game, it was fun. I played that game, but I don't remember what was I meant to learn? What was I meant to get from that experience? And for me, it is critical to always start with this in mind. So when I present, I always present what my world looks like at Nedbank where I work. This does not have to be your convoluted ecosystem, but it is my ecosystem. I love it, I leverage it, and I'm very grateful for the budget that goes behind enabling this ecosystem. And I have many conversations with different organizations on how can we get a similar experience to what you are able to provide with less. And there are many different ways, and I've had many engaging conversations with companies and organizations like Dis-Chem, for example, which is a big pharmaceutical pharmacy company in South Africa that enables people to do this and get these kind of experiences, but in a different way. As well, and with less on the plate. But I want to take you through quickly in terms of, for me, the biggest thing from an ecosystem perspective is access and simplicity. While it looks like this for me, it does not look like this for the employee. So we have desktop and mobile access. I'm learning more on my mobile now, because also I want to escape my laptop from time to time. Maybe you are different, but I want to escape it, but I still want to learn. I enjoy podcasts. My husband always also sends me audiobooks. And so I love the opportunity to be able to access my learning through my mobile. And then we have our LXP, which we use Edcast, they call Cornerstone Learn now. And that is our entry point into the learning experience. So even on my mobile, when I learn from the Cornerstone Learning Experience app, and then I'm able to search for what I'm looking for and get the world behind. So all of the stuff that is behind doesn't come at me so hard. And I also don't have access to all of them, but there are standard things that each employee has. So within our organization, the strategic workforce planning, we use a platform called Anaplan for that. And that provides the clarity on the skills that matter within our organization. So when we go back to that research, the clarity from the World Economic Forum in terms of these are the 3 tech skills that are the highest growing. We provide similar clarity to go from a global perspective. This is what is happening. But from our bank's perspective, these are the ones that we want people to focus on. And so our strategic workforce planning then adds those to jobs and to roles, and then a focus on those capabilities so that people can see that mobility. So I can move from learning or instructional design, I can add on digital learning, and I can start building a career in that essence. Or I can then move into a data role or an analyst role within the learning space. And so it helps people to see that mobility more clearly as well. And we can plan and be more proactive about these shifts as well in our talent strategy. So all employees within our organization have access to Overdrive, which is for books, so ebooks, podcasts, people can access that. We have LinkedIn Learning, which most people have as well. You would have seen the invite from this in your LinkedIn. So hopefully you also topping that up with some LinkedIn Learning. We use SAP for our LMS, our learning management system. We have Percipio, which we only purchased the MIT Sloan leadership development component of to scale leadership development within our organization. We are Microsoft clients, so if your organization is as well, please look into it. So we have free access to the Enterprise Skills Initiative from Microsoft, which has all kinds of learning pathways from a tech perspective, certifications as well. It's a beautiful space with actual practice involved as well. We also have Moody's from a business and banking perspective. And then NetX is an interesting place, which is part of our LXP, but it's a space for people to do product learning. So all employees have access to that. That is free off the bat. So if you're thinking about organizations that you're also interested in working at, look at our organization. We're a great place to learn and grow. So all employees have access to that. But the beauty is, as an employee, if I type in that I'm looking to build presentation skills, the AI behind the platform provides all of this to me. So I'm going to show this all at the end as well. Provides all of this to me without me feeling and recognizing that there's all these 10 different things behind here. But it enables me to learn and grow through different knowledge acquired in different spaces. We then have premium learning partners, so your Udemy, Coursera, Pluralsight, Cloud Guru, DataCamp, AI HR. Those are premium and those are specific to the role that you have in the organization. So if you're in a data role, you have access to DataCamp. If you're in HR, you have access to AI HR. And so we try to make that simple for people as they come on into the organization. There are relationships that we are closing down as part of this and always evolving it, because we want to keep the relationships that work for our employees through the research and the analytics that we're continuously doing, and let go of those that don't. And then the last thing is we have a talent marketplace that is powered by Gloat. So if you know Gloat is a talent marketplace that enables people to move beyond just, I did a course on LinkedIn Learning, and so now I think I can do data analytics, but it enables people to find opportunities for learning through projects across the business to showcase their skills. A lot of us also landed up in our different roles, and that's not where we've come from. So one of our business heads in HR actually comes from IT. He's a technical tech person doing a different role, and in terms of how do we improve automation and our systems within HR. But the talent marketplace then helps to showcase that his skill set is not just HR, even though he's in an HR role. And so that's how we are changing the experience from a global perspective and leveraging the technology around us to create a different way for people to access learning. So I know that's a mouthful, and I promise I will also show you what this is practically and what people actually experience on a day-to-day. So clarity within the ecosystem. So while all of that is going on, like I said, we provide clarity in terms of the capabilities that matter within our organization and the spaces that people can learn. So there's all of these skills that we have clarified and said, taking to all of the research that is around us and where we are going as an organization, these are the skills we want people to have top of mind. That doesn't take away their technical skills to do the job that they're currently in, but this gives them direction into how do you become future ready. And then we've created channels. So there are channels within our LXP that focus on those power skills and those future skills. So people don't have to search many, many places to access that learning, but they're able to quickly get into the space and access the learning. So I want to share in terms of what does this learning look like for the people in our space. So this is a program that we recently started in terms of data modeling, and it's just a 1-minute video, and I'm going to play. Hopefully it plays with sound and that you get to experience the kind of learning that we are creating in the space, so that people also don't feel like they're just clicking through things, but there is an immersive element to it.
Welcome to the data modeling journey, your gateway to understanding how data shapes decision-making at Nedbank. But why embark on this journey? Because managing data effectively is no longer optional. It is essential. Data modeling helps us structure, understand, and unlock the value of our data, driving better business outcomes. This is a journey through Dataville, where data isn't just numbers, it's the lifeblood of a thriving digital city, which you could imagine as Nedbank. The journey has 9 modules. Let us dive into the first, Introduction to Data Modeling. In Module 1, we arrive at the city gates to explore how Dataville is built and governed within the Nedbank landscape. Here, data is treated as a strategic asset, like clean water or reliable roads, powering innovation, ensuring compliance, and keeping citizens, our customers, at the heart of every decision. You will meet the architects and planners, the frameworks, governance structures, and centers of excellence that ensure Dataville runs smoothly and securely. Next, we dive into the blueprint of the city, data modeling. Why is it so important? Because without a solid plan, Dataville would be chaos. Data modeling ensures every building, every system, is constructed with precision, consistency, and purpose. It bridges the gap between what the city needs and how it's built, enabling smart analytics. Let's begin the journey through Dataville, because great data starts with great models.
So that is just one element of how we are changing the learning in the space. So moving from just flat learning where people are just being taken through a video to a different space where people are actually navigating through a made-up world. We are learning now through storytelling. People can sit through a movie. And so we are leveraging how movies are made in the learning space through technology. So that learning was created with AI, lots of prompting that went into it, but it really helped to land the story of let's leave data modeling as something big and technical that people cannot resonate with. Let's make our organization into a place that people can learn through storytelling and they can leverage learning differently. And AI really helped in that. So that actually has decreased our speed of design and the beautiful things that we're able to build and the spaces we're able to build, so that we're actually increasing the productivity from a design perspective as well. So something that would have taken 3 weeks to build and to figure out and how to make that move and how to take the picture and add it on is actually now something that the team is able to do with proper prompting, with proper scripting in a good 2 to 3 hours that fills in with the storytelling as well. And so that has really shifted the game in terms of the type of work we're able to deliver, the kind of projects also that come within the team. And for us, leveraging technology now is something that we can directly link to productivity. We can calculate the benefits of that productivity as well through the team's hourly rate. And so when we go back and we speak to our stakeholders and we're asking for more money for this technology, that we're able to speak numbers to them. For me, that has been a real game changer in our ability to do that. The next video I'm going to play, and I'll just play snippets of it from the English to the Portuguese version, is also another way that we're leveraging AI in our space and different technology that is available. So because we operate in different countries that have different languages, translation work was a big chunk of the work that we had to do. And because we don't speak Portuguese, but we have employees in Mozambique, for example, that we need to translate learning for them into Portuguese, what would happen is that the learning would be created in English for the English-speaking countries. And then we would send it out for translation. That would mean briefing of a vendor if we're working with a vendor or the internal team. So that's 1 week in terms of briefing and the briefing meetings. The second week is then they start doing the work. Generally, they tell us 2 weeks. So a whole month passes by and the work isn't done and the work isn't delivered. And so us leveraging technology has also meant that we can now quickly do these translations. So this is Delmarie, someone I work with closely in our team and I value a lot. And she did this quick video in terms of this translation that we're able to do. So I'm going to try and play that as well so you can hear, and I'll just play snippets. So this is the English version.
I've decided to use the FutureMe introduction as a test for this functionality. At Nedbank, we are committed to creating a positive and inclusive workplace where every employee is valued and empowered to succeed. This FutureMe program is a personal journey for reflection and where your career is in your hands and you can own your growth. As the world changes, we need to adapt and change accordingly. Some skills and jobs reduce in demand, but equally, new careers and opportunities are emerging.
So that is the English version. That is Delmarie and normal, and that's how she is every day. And then from a Portuguese
Decidi
perspective,
usar a introdução do FutureMe como teste para esta funcionalidade. No Nedbank, estamos comprometidos em criar ambiente de trabalho positivo e inclusivo, onde cada funcionário é valorizado e capacitado para ter sucesso. Este programa FutureMe é uma jornada pessoal de reflexão, onde sua carreira está em suas mãos e você pode assumir seu crescimento.
So what this became is a real game changer, like I said, that you can still see that it's still her just speaking Portuguese now. And so we're able to now quickly upload the video, automatically translate, select the language and the dialect, which has been really important for us to also learn and appreciate in this process. And so people also don't get to see an avatar face or a person that they don't resonate with, but they're able to see us in our real selves with different language. And so that has really shifted the speed at which we're able to do these things, and also the value that we're able to bring to the organization was also monetary. And that's why I always say I always leverage my previous career in the one that I have, and I've taken skills along. And that's why I also believe in the skills economy. That for me, the biggest thing to be able to speak to businesses about is business and business outcomes and money. And so from a translation perspective, we could easily say, listen, the tech here is going to cost $17 per person, per designer, per annum. But the saving that you're going to get is if we pull all of the translation work that we've been paying for, here you can see it's over R1 million that we're going to be saving per annum based on reduced translation work. And we've tested this with our employees to make sure, like I said, that we have the right languages, the right dialects, that nothing is lost in translation as well. But it's been such a game changer for us to be able to do this and create access for employees as well to learn in their language, and that people aren't struggling with translating in their own heads now on what does this mean, which has meant also increased productivity on the ground because of the translation, because people are able to quickly understand what it is that they're meant to learn and be able to quickly apply. So that is also another way that we've leveraged things like this translation AI tool for the work that we do. So we also leverage human avatars for the work. So recently I had a project, and I'm not going to play that video so that we're not just playing video after video. So I do want to spend the last 10-ish minutes showing you some practical things as well from our own environment. But we leverage the human avatar. There's a new law that is being updated that is going to be rolled out in our country that has to do with the financial services. And they sent me the PowerPoint, and they wanted to find out how can they present this in a more engaging way, in a quick way that they can send to executives no longer than 3 to 5 minutes to present where are we coming from with this legislation, where are we going, when is it expected to land, what are the implications for the organization, and what are the implications for the leader. So 5 things to be able to present. So what it is, we took the PowerPoint, edited it to make sure that from a corporate image perspective that it is in line, and then put it into our AI tool, which we started out with Feed.io, and now we're on Animaker as well with Steve AI. We uploaded the PowerPoint. It created a script for us. So the AI read through the PowerPoint, created an actual script that aligned to it. Then it enabled us to select an avatar, so a lady who looked like our employees within the bank, and we could change her clothing as well and make sure that she is in our green so that it also resonates and creates that cognitive link. And we're able to choose the voice. So the language, the voice, the dialect, we're able to choose for the avatar so it sounds less AI-y and more human, and we're able to do that. That enabled us to be able to roll out that update really quickly for business. We're actually creating an update to that is going to go out now to all employees into the bank, because what we've realized is, yes, that's a regulatory thing, but it doesn't have to be boring. People can take it as compliance, but it's a different way to land the message other than I'm clicking through and doing e-learning and just skipping to an assessment. But this is just going, if you have 5 minutes of time, you have 5 minutes to listen to this update. And so we are really leveraging the storytelling, leveraging how people have told us that they like to learn. So a lot of employees in our organizations have already said that they like to learn through video. And so we are leaning into that and going, how do we balance the need for a lot of information with video, leveraging AI? And that has really shifted how we're able to do things and the pace at which we're able to do it. This has also meant, from a human avatar perspective, that sometimes we don't have time for studio to go record a person physically in there, but we're able to create my human avatar. So if I have to present something, I can upload my image. It's just 3 pictures, so one front, one to the side, other side, so that I have natural movement. And then I'm able to put that avatar of myself and able to present with the AI script, which means it's not just random people created by AI that we dress in our organization colors, but we can have our leaders also present. They still have to sign off on the video, they still have to sign off on the script, but we also reducing the cost of studio time to be there with a videographer, to have the studio booked, and plan around all of that, to have makeup artists. We are able to put pen on paper that from an L&D perspective, this is how much we have saved the organization by leveraging the technology around us to create solutions that are innovative and also land the message in a different way than people are used to. So ending off in terms of business impact. So this is what I presented before in terms of that strategic imperative. So this is what we focus on when we look at our data. So we have many dashboards in the organization. I'll start with this one that helped my team personally. That before we went and measured how our things are landing in business, which I will show as the next slide, we first measured how are we doing. And we're so grateful for other teams within the organization because they helped us in order to be able to put this together, but to be able to see who are our designers, what are they working on? Are we shifting towards capability building and reducing systems training, for example, and product training to make those more intuitive and making our compliance training more engaging as well? So not spending too much time creating clicky things that are long, that people are actually not interested in. They just want to be compliant and move on with it. So how do we reduce that? How we bring in more games into compliance that actually people remember? So for example, we have a game now that people can play in terms of receiving gifts. So instead of writing out the policy and putting it into a clickable e-learning that it's into a SCORM file and it's all kinds of things, we make a game where it is, this is the game, this is the gift you've now received. Can you accept it or not? Do you have to declare it or not? And as people make their decisions, they get feedback on why was that right? Why wasn't it wrong? And they get points based on that as well. So it was important for us to start with the analytics from our perspective. Part of these analytics is also team wellness. So we've also been able to start seeing when are we at capacity, when should we start saying no to projects, and when do we need to take leave? as well. So it's been a real great transition for us in terms of these analytics to start looking at maybe we didn't realize we're saying no, saying yes to a lot of things, and we need to cut down, or we need to be partnering differently with our stakeholders to go, not everything is a learning problem. And so let's help you find the right solution. And then now we've gotten to a predictive space where we can say, we know this is our busiest time. So actually we need to, get in a contractor or two to come support with work. And that's also really helped in our work. And then from a learning perspective, we've been able now to pull dashboards that help us in terms of how is the engagement working in terms of the learning that we're putting out. Because our measurement from a learning perspective isn't how many learning pathways we've created, how many journeys we've put together. It is, are people engaging so that they do differently in their careers and they can perform, they have that autonomy, they can access opportunity. And so we've started now to be able to look at these things in a better way. We've had these stats, but they just weren't in a way that we can easily tell the story like this. So we're able to see who exactly is completing the learning and where they're from, which also means we're able to now tell which areas of business are not focusing or coming into our learning platform. And so we need to then engage them differently. We need to run different campaigns. We need to do site visits with them. And so it's helped us to be able to shift the game in terms of how we deliver the learning. We had a session yesterday on the metaverse and how we can create spaces in there for learning where people can come in, they create their avatar, they walk around the space and they access learning. And we have a learning expo, we have site visits coming up. All of these things came from the data that we're able to look at. We're able to see as well from a population representation quite easily, and we're adding the markers for age as well, because we want to know how come so many more females are learning than males in the organization, and how does that link to promotions and jobs and seniority in the business? Because we want it to be a link that if you learn, you're going to perform high and you're going to get access to opportunities. So if we start to then layer our learning data with our talent data, we tell even more meaningful stories and we're able to help the business shift in terms of talent strategies. But we're able to also now be able to answer the question of, from a business perspective, we said people should learn data, AI, automation, based on the research that is happening in terms of these are the growing skills. Is it really growing in our organization? And so it's not leveraging technology and using AI to do translation for the sake of translation or create immersive experience for the sake of emerging experience, but it's for engagement, for business impact, aligned to our talent strategies as well. And that has really shifted the game for us, like I said, because now it's changing our communication strategies, changing how we're applying behavioral science to speak to people in their different spaces as well. So I hope these have started to show some of the things that we are doing to leverage the technology. And I promised that before we go into questions, I'm going to share some real things that we are doing in the space and what that looks like. So I'm going to share just a couple of things from my side that you'll be able to see in how we are doing things before we close, so that this then feels more real. So this is our digital learning platform. This is how Cornerstone Learn looks for us in the business, in that people have a landing space where we all land together in terms of what is trending within our business. Where do you start as a new joiner? If you are in leadership or aspiring towards leadership, what is the learning that you can do? And leadership at the different levels as well. And you're able to access that. And that then also takes you into different learning journeys. And those future skills and power skills that I spoke about are also there. And you'll see in our trending list that the power skills are highly up there in terms of trending. And all of those featured providers are there that are also mentioned in that diagram that says this is all of the partners that we have. But to quickly show you in terms of the AI, so if I search and I say I want presentation skills, And this is to show how we are leveraging the technology within our space. I'm able to see all of the content that is on presentation skills. I can filter and say, actually, I just want videos. I don't want all of these long stories. I just want videos. I can choose the language in which I want to learn, and I can also choose the source. So I want to learn from a LinkedIn perspective or Udemy or Coursera, or actually, I don't care where the learning comes from. I just want presentation skills, but I want it to be in a video. I apply that and it updates in terms of the learning that is presented to me. Then I start getting the different things related to the presentation skills and I can learn. I already have learning interests, so each person can put in, these are my focus skills I want to develop in, and the AI behind the platform then starts to push particular learning for me. So you'll see I'm looking at conflict resolution, storytelling, data visualization. And so this is refreshed on a daily basis for me, and I'm able to see what it is that I need to learn. But I might not have the clarity of what skills I want to learn. So I can also see what is my team learning, because actually I might be a bit behind. So I can then also see what is my team doing that maybe I should be thinking about also doing. And so it also helps me to be able to see that I can bookmark and save things. You see there I have my bookmarks on the learning that I want to do. And it's a seamless step to be able to access the learning, because then I can click on the learning and then say open the content, and I'll open it on a different tab, and I start my learning and the data of my completion flows in. And so then when I'm done, it marks that I finished the learning. So that is our digital learning platform, the single place for everyone to learn, experience, and we're always updating this space. We're always looking at what new integrations can we pull in to be able to increase the spaces that people are able to learn and make it even more engaging than ever. So I just want to highlight two of our partners that we work with that all employees have access to in terms of how we're leveraging that. So we utilize a lot in terms of Percipio, and Percipio enables us to even enhance our data even more. So in terms of Percipio, people not only get the learning, but they're able to also get, so there's courses, but there's also live events. So an individual can access a live event that is global through this, and that is always on. They can access a simulation and have an AI coach take them through a different scenario. And so it really changes the game in terms of how we're leveraging technology, but also the things that we don't necessarily have to build and employees already have access to. We also have skilled global benchmarks. So I can measure myself in terms of particular skill against others within the bank, against other people globally, and able to get immediate feedback. And in terms of simulation, I can use voice, or the person can type. And these are the different scenarios. So you'll see coaching your team, customer service, cybersecurity. So all of these are already built, already available, and our employees can just plug into them. We can plug them into learning journeys. And so from a design perspective, we cut the time, we create the opportunity. And so this is also available from a LinkedIn learning perspective, but you're also able to do career pathing. Sometimes people are scared to ask their line manager or ask someone who will go to the line manager and say, actually, I want to pivot my career. I don't know if I want to stay in this role anymore. I want to look at what else can I do. So this is my current role. I can change my aspirational role. But in this aspirational role, it also tells me that these are the recommended focus skills. And then I can rate myself. I can ask for feedback from others related to this. And then I can quickly start the learning as well. And so it's been leveraging this technology has been a simple, I say simple, it quoted marks, for us to be able to access, but it creates simplicity in our learning design to leverage things that we can use to build, but also leverage things that other people have built to create even more immersive learning experiences for people.